Marylanders, especially in the eastern part of the state, who were very pro-Southern, very pro-secession in their political point of view. We don't know how many exactly, maybe 15,000, maybe 20,000 marched south to Richmond, some of them here to Harper's Ferry, early in the war, where they were coalesced into Maryland Confederate units. We represent the 2nd Maryland Artillery, popularly known as the Baltimore Light Artillery, because Baltimoreans were part of that unit. I want to talk a little bit about tactics to build on what Melinda's already told you. Let's talk about geography for a moment. That hill mass that you see over there, the tallest territory around here, is called Maryland Heights. At the base of that ridgeline, you can't see it from here, is the Potomac River making its way east. Behind me over here is Loudoun Heights, and just at the base of that ridge is the Shenandoah River. They come together down there where the lower town is to form the Potomac and make its way east toward the Chesapeake. So you're standing on kind of a pie-shaped piece of land here, with high ground over here at Maryland Heights, over here at Loudoun Heights, and if you could see it behind you, there's a ridge parallel to this one called Schoolhouse Ridge. It's important to understand this geography to understand what happened here in September of 1862. Robert E. Lee and the victorious Army of Northern Virginia had crossed the Potomac into Maryland to take the war out of Virginia so Virginia farmers could get in the harvest unmolested by the warfare that had raged for nearly a year and a half. He's taking the war to the north to achieve certain political objectives. One of the problems that he has, however, is that he has this roughly 13,000 Union Army garrison here at Harper's Ferry in the rear of his army. Armies depend on logistics to be able to function in the field, to feed men, to clothe them, to provide ammunition, animals, feed for those animals. And Lee's supply line came out of the Shenandoah Valley, where we are actually right now, across the Potomac to feed and replenish his army. He could not allow, tactically, such a large Union detachment in his rear. So he's detached, he sent off one of his very best lieutenants to deal with his problem here at Harper's Ferry. That was a blue-eyed Virginian by the name of Thomas J. Stonewall Jackson. Jackson came here with a sizable portion of Lee's army. He broke it up into pieces. All of a sudden, there's Confederate infantry and artillery up on Maryland Heights. All of a sudden, there's Confederate infantry and artillery on Loudoun Heights. And then, from the direction of Charlestown, with the main part of his force and his artillery, up comes Stonewall Jackson, and the Federal garrison here at Harper's Ferry has just been corked into a bottle. When Jackson brings his artillery up and they begin a bombardment, one Union soldier wrote, "There was no place that a Union soldier occupied in Harper's Ferry that you could hide from Southern artillery fire. It was all around them. It was day and night. There wasn't anything they could do to escape it." The final stroke occurred when one of Stonewall Jackson's units under General A.P. Hill came around the end of this ridge and appeared down there on the Murphy farm, where you see that white farmhouse about 1,100 yards from here. When those Southern infantry were able to make their way to the left of and behind the main Federal position up here, it was all over, and the surrender had to take place. The largest surrender of U.S. troops since the fall of Charleston during the Revolution and until the fall of Corregidor in the Second World War. Well, our purpose here is to talk about artillery. I want to give you a little bit of a sense of the organization of the artillery. I like to draw an analogy between work in the infantry and the artillery because I'm a former artilleryman. If you have a company of infantry, you've got a captain. He's in charge of roughly 100 soldiers carrying muskets on their shoulders. That's an awesome responsibility, but consider this. In the artillery, a captain, battery commander, has, in the Southern service, 4 of these guns under his command. In the Union service, 6, maybe 4, but generally 6 guns. He also has 2 of these limbers per gun. He has 1 caisson per gun, which is like a double limber. He has supply wagons. He has ambulances. He has a traveling field forge. He also has roughly 100 to 120 men and 100 to 120 animals to pull all of this equipment around. This is horse-drawn locomotion. And typically, this limber that you see here would have pairs of horses harnessed up, one in front of the other. Generally 6 horses, if you can afford it. The Southerners couldn't always. The Union Army generally could, or at least 4 horses. And of course, all of these other vehicles are being pulled around by horses as well. In terms of the men, half of those men are cannoneers. That's what we all are. We load and fire cannons. The other half of those men in an artillery battery are called drivers. All they do is handle animals. That's their job. That's how this machine is powered on the battlefield. So that's a lot of responsibility when you consider the number of soldiers, the amount of equipment, the number of animals, and still use this technologically advanced branch of military effort to bring effective fire on the enemy. Now, I'm smart enough to know that you all have come here to hear a big bang today, and we're certainly going to give that to you. We want to. We're going to do it a couple of times. So I'm going to go ahead and run the crew through the loading and firing of a blank charge. It's just a blank charge. We don't fire projectiles, obviously. Okay? And we're going to talk some more afterwards. We're going to talk about ammunition. We're going to talk about the different jobs that the soldiers perform. So without further ado, I'm going to detach myself from you. I'm acting also as the gunner for the piece this afternoon. I'm going to run them through the paces of firing this cannon. Let me advise you, it is very, very loud. It's very loud. Artillery generally is. Right. When you hear me give the command, ready, cover your ears, open your mouth, hold the little ones close, because we're about to discharge this weapon.
Cover your ears, bud.
Do you want to sit on Grandpa's lap?
Move! Shell! 1,100 yards!
We got here at the right time. Push your feet. Ooh, no, baby's not gonna like it. Oh, he's already breathing down. I would take off the jacket. Why? Cover your head, but no, put your fingers in your ears too. And put that over your... Like this. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm putting more on. I'm putting my hood on. It says to open
Ready.
your mouth.
Cover your ears. Fire!
Wow!
Hear the beat.
That was
I'm so happy.
loud.
I'm so happy I recorded this.
How cool was that? Yeah!
We're going to talk about all that stuff.
How cool